Have you ever noticed how a single interruption can completely hijack your emotions? One moment you are calm, confident, and clear. The next, your chest tightens, your thoughts scatter, and a quiet irritation begins to burn beneath your skin. Why does something so small, just a few stolen words, have the power to shake your inner balance so deeply? And more importantly, why do most people respond in a way that only makes the situation worse? Picture this clearly. You are in the middle of a sentence, not just speaking, but expressing a thought that matters to you. Perhaps it's at a dinner table, a business meeting, or a gathering of friends. Your point is unfolding, your voice steady, your mind focused. Then suddenly, without warning, another voice crashes in. Someone steps over your words, takes control of the conversation, and pushes your presence into the background. In that exact moment, something ancient awakens inside you. Your pulse quickens, heat rises to your face, your jaw tightens. The reaction feels automatic, instinctive, almost unavoidable. Fight back, reclaim your space, defend your voice. This response is deeply biological. The average person immediately battles for airtime. They raise their voice, speak faster, and grow louder, trying to overpower the intrusion with sheer force. They fight noise with noise. Yet in doing so, something subtle but important happens. They look rushed, they look needy, they look insecure. Without realizing it, they allow an external disturbance to shatter their internal order. The interruption doesn't just interrupt their speech, it interrupts their self-mastery. The Stoic does not play this game. The Stoic does not fight noise with noise. When chaos enters the room, the Stoic does something unexpected. They stop, they withdraw their energy, they enter the void. And in that void, real power begins to surface. Today, we are going to dismantle the instinct to react. We are going to explore the art of handling interruptions not through aggression, not through dominance displays, but through the supreme power of silence and carefully chosen words. Why is reaction actually a form of surrender? Why does pausing, true, deliberate pausing, shift the balance of power entirely in your favor? And how did the ancient Stoics, men who stood calmly before emperors and executioners, understand something about human psychology that most people still miss today? To truly understand how to stop someone from talking over you, we must first understand the psychological landscape of the interaction itself. This dynamic is binary. On one side stands the insecure interrupter. This person is volatile, restless, and deeply uncomfortable with silence. To them, even a brief pause in conversation feels like a vacuum, one that must be filled immediately with their voice, their opinions, their ego. They interrupt not because they are confident, but because they are anxious for validation. They mistake control of the conversation for control of the room. On the other side is the Stoic archetype, the observer. The observer is grounded, unmoved. The observer understands a truth that most people never internalize, that real power does not shout, it whispers. When you are interrupted, the mental trap is believing that your silence means defeat. You feel as though by stopping your speech, you have yielded ground. This belief must be dismantled instantly. Stopping is not submission, it is strategy, it is a tactical decision. It is what we call weaponized silence. Think of the conversation like a spotlight on a stage. While you are speaking, that spotlight rests on you. When someone interrupts, they are lunging for that light. If you resist, if you fight them, both of you end up scrambling in the mud while the audience sees only disorder. But if the moment they speak, you stop, cleanly, precisely, without emotion, you do something profoundly counterintuitive. You hand them the spotlight completely, but you do it while they are unprepared. You leave them standing alone with their rudeness, forced to fill the space without resistance. And in that silence, the truth about them becomes visible to everyone. This is dignity in action. The Stoic philosopher Zeno of Citium once reminded us that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen more than we speak. This was not advice for weakness or passivity, it was a lesson in command.
The greatest minds in history viewed the compulsive need to speak as a flaw of character, a leak in self-control. When someone interrupts you, they reveal not strength, but a lack of temperance, and once you see that clearly, the emotional charge disappears. Before we move forward, one question must be answered honestly. Why are you using these techniques? If your goal is to win, to humiliate, or to dominate the other person, then you have already lost your Stoic footing. You are still being governed by ego. The true purpose of these methods is not to crush others, but to protect your inner sanctuary. As Epictetus taught, we cannot control the actions of others, only how we perceive and respond to them. When you master your response, you master yourself. And that is where real authority begins.
With this foundation of stillness and inner authority in place, we can now move into practical mastery. Because philosophy without application is empty. The Stoics were not thinkers detached from reality. They were men who tested their wisdom in the friction of daily life. And interruptions, those small but sharp social violations, are one of the most common arenas where composure is either proven or lost. The key is understanding this. When someone talks over you, they are not stealing your power unless you hand it to them. Let us begin with the simplest and most overlooked weapon, the benevolent yield. When an interrupter cuts into your sentence, you stop instantly and say, calmly and evenly, "I noticed you have something to say. Go ahead, I'll wait." This phrase is devastating precisely because it defies expectation. The interrupter anticipates resistance. They are preparing for verbal combat. Instead, you remove all friction. You step aside without shrinking. The politeness is intentional, but the subtext is heavy. By stating that you will wait, you imply that the conversation is merely paused, not derailed, and that your point holds enough weight to survive the interruption. What happens psychologically in this moment is crucial. The interrupter suddenly realizes that they are alone with the spotlight they demanded. There is no tension to push against, no emotional energy to feed on. Their urgency begins to collapse. Meanwhile, you remain composed, signaling to everyone present that you are secure enough to grant space without fear of being erased. Authority is not seized, it is assumed. The second approach appeals to order and fairness, two principles deeply aligned with Stoic virtue. When someone interrupts, you pause, meet their eyes without hostility, and say, "Please finish your thought, then I will finish mine." This sentence does not accuse, it does not complain, it establishes structure. You are acknowledging their desire to speak while simultaneously asserting that your words are not disposable. This creates an unspoken agreement, a contract in front of the entire room. You have booked your place in the conversation with calm certainty. Notice what you are not doing. You are not apologizing. You are not asking permission to continue. You are simply stating the logical flow of dialogue. The interrupter's behavior is framed as disorderly, while yours is positioned as grounded and rational. And people instinctively gravitate toward the person who brings order into chaos. Then there is the most advanced and underestimated method of all: total silence. No words, no sigh, no facial theatrics. When the interruption happens, you stop speaking immediately and look directly at the person with a neutral, unmoved expression. You remain fully present, fully still. You let them talk. This silence is not emptiness, it is pressure. Most interrupters are driven by impulse and emotion. They are searching for a reaction, irritation, submission, or confrontation. When they receive nothing, something unsettling occurs. The lack of resistance becomes a mirror, reflecting their own volatility back at them. Their words begin to stumble, they ramble, their confidence frays. Eventually, they trail off, unsure of where they stand. When that happens, you wait one more second, a deliberate second, a sovereign second. Then, in the same calm tone as before, you say, "As I was saying," and you resume your sentence exactly where you left off, not from the beginning, not rephrased, exactly where you stopped.
The message is unmistakable. The interruption changed nothing. You treat their outburst like a passing cloud, momentary, irrelevant, incapable of altering the course of the sun. This level of composure demonstrates ultimate temperance. It tells the room that your thoughts are not fragile, and your presence does not depend on constant assertion. You do not scramble for attention, because attention naturally returns to those who are unshaken. For repeat offenders or deliberate provocateurs, a stronger but still stoic response is sometimes necessary. In these cases, you ask, without sarcasm, without edge, "I want to hear your point, but are you interrupting because you feel I'm finished, or because you don't want to hear what I have to say?" This question is not an attack, it is illumination. It pulls an unconscious behavior into conscious awareness. Most people interrupt on autopilot, driven by emotion rather than intent. By forcing them to examine their motivation, you slow the interaction down and restore rational control. Often they retreat, they clarify, they apologize, and just like that, authority is restored, not through dominance, but through clarity. Stoicism is often misunderstood as passive restraint, but in truth it is active engagement with reality. There are moments when boundaries must be stated plainly. When someone speaks over you aggressively, you calmly say, "I'm going to pause you there for a second. I wasn't quite done." This statement contains no accusation, only fact. Facts require no emotion. The power lies in the delivery, a low, steady tone with a downward inflection. You are not asking, you are informing. Each of these approaches shares a single core principle. You value your words enough to protect them, but not enough to fight desperately for them. And that distinction changes everything.
Now we bring everything together and anchor it into lived experience. Because mastery is not proven in theory, it is revealed in moments of pressure. The next time someone interrupts you, do not rush to fix the situation. Instead, turn your attention inward. Feel the vibration rise in your body. Notice the tightening of your chest, the urge to speak louder, the impulse to reclaim control through force. That impulse is the insecure interrupter archetype awakening inside you. The Stoic does not suppress this feeling. He observes it, he names it, and then he releases it. This is the emotional logic bridge. Before you respond, remind yourself of the true objective. You are not here to win a shouting match. You are not here to dominate another person. You are here to protect your dignity and maintain sovereignty over your inner state. The moment you remember this, the urgency dissolves, clarity returns, and from that clarity, you choose your response: silence, structure, or calm boundary, delivered without haste and without heat. When you act from this place, something subtle but powerful happens. People begin to lean in. Human attention is drawn not to the loudest voice, but to the calmest presence. Those who speak the least, yet speak with precision, carry disproportionate weight in any room. By refusing to scramble for airtime, you reverse the usual social dynamic. Instead of competing for attention, you become the reference point. Others begin to wait for you to finish. This was the quiet strength of the ancient Stoics. Zeno, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius lived in worlds filled with power games, ego clashes, and constant noise. They faced emperors and slaves with the same composed spirit because they understood a fundamental truth: no one can invade your inner citadel without your consent. When someone interrupts you, they are testing not your status, but your self-command. Remember, the world is filled with people who fear silence. They fill every gap with words to escape their own thoughts. They mistake motion for progress and volume for authority. Do not join them. Become the contrast. Stillness in the storm. Gravity in a room full of static. When you stop speaking at the moment of interruption, you are not disappearing, you are allowing the noise to expose itself. Over time, this practice reshapes how others perceive you. Your words begin to carry weight because they are not cheapened by reaction. You do not speak to be heard, you speak because what you say matters. And paradoxically, this is what makes people listen. Respect follows self-respect. When you honor your own silence, the world learns to honor your speech. As you move through the coming days, consciously practice these principles. Observe the reactions. Notice how often the interruption collapses under its own momentum when it meets composure instead of resistance. Each time you choose stillness, you win a victory far greater than any argument. You win mastery over yourself. The true goal is not merely to stop others from talking over you. The true goal is to remain unmoved when the world grows loud. That is the Stoic way. That is the path of quiet power. If this reflection resonated with you, take a moment to commit to it. Carry these principles forward. Speak less, but with greater weight. Stand firm without aggression. And remember, your silence can speak more loudly than your words ever could.